There's plenty of fights confirmed already for 2019. So we want to get your thoughts on some of the fights that have been confirmed already for us. So we'll just run down through a couple of lists and see what you think. Or is there a fight straight off the bat that's being confirmed from anywhere in the world, any promotion that you're excited about already?
There are a lot of them, but you know, Tyron Woodley, Kamaru Usman. I mean, you can't get around that one being fantastic. The last fight I called was Kamaru Usman RDA, and he looked phenomenal. And also the old, you know, Colby Covington kind of taking a back seat, and then Kamaru Usman getting the shot. There are a lot of subplots to this, and what Tyron Woodley's been through with the promotion, and his, I think, continuing struggle for respect in the UFC. I mean, all those things together make that an incredibly interesting fight.
Do you think that was the right move for the UFC? Usman over Covington?
Are there any bad moves with those three guys? I mean, that's my question for everybody is, who should get the shot first? I would have gone with Colby Covington simply because you gave him the interim tag. You wanted to have a little bit of meaning. But, you know, the winner has to eventually fight Colby Covington anyway. So is it a bad move? No. Would I have had Colby Covington first personally? Yeah, I would have, just because the guy, you know, won the interim belt. But there are no bad fights, in my opinion, with those top three guys.
Yeah. And the same card, rumoured, depending on Nevada. John Jones, Anthony Smith. You surprised to see John turn around so fast? And is it good to see him? And is it the right fight?
It is good to see him. I do agree with the turnaround for a couple of reasons. The promo I did for Gustafsson and Jones, I said, you know, winning heals all wounds. Like, you know, all this controversy stuff, the more he wins, the more you see him out there actually fighting, the more the fans warm up to him again, the more they forget everything else, the more they kind of go, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. Whenever you win, all the criticism kind of backs off. Now, there will always be critics, but a lot of them, it's much more silent after a win. So the point is, the more time he has off, the more chance there is something could happen. Keep him fighting, keep him winning, keep him in the public eye as a fighter. Don't, you know, Teddy Atlas once said, one of the reasons Mike Tyson fought every 2 weeks in his prime is that it kept him out of trouble. He was in the gym, and he was always fighting. He didn't have time to go to the street and do something stupid. And you know, John Jones, I'm not saying he's necessarily that kind of guy, but the more he wins, the more fans appreciate him as a fighter as opposed to a headline somewhere else. Keep the guy busy. Is Anthony Smith ready? Personally, I don't think anybody outside of DC is ready for John Jones. I really believe that. Anthony Smith is a little raw. It would be a phenomenal upset if he's able to win the fight. But, you know, he's certainly not a bad choice, and he's earned this spot. Is he ready for John Jones? Is anybody ready for John Jones? Is the bigger question. Anybody other than DC?
Another one that jumps off the page for me is the return of Cain Velasquez against Francis Ngannou. That's on the ESPN1 card on the 17th of February. The layoff, talking about it before, Jimmy, I thought Cain was laid off for longer. It's just because he's had layoff after layoff. He's actually not off longer. There have been fighters who were off longer. But are we going to see the same Cain Velasquez? Has MMA evolved, or is he in the right division for the evolution to be slowed down a little? And how dangerous is it taking the Ngannou fight?
Think about the names at the top of the heavyweight division. They've been around for a long time. There's not. I mean, Ngannou's kind of new blood in a sense, but you know, Curtis Blades and Ngannou are kind of the new set. But you know, Stipe Miocic in his run, you know, it's guys of Cain Velasquez's era, essentially. You know, Junior Dos Santos and Mark Hunt. Those guys have been around for a long time. You know, Overeem and Arlovsky, all those guys have been around. So has there been really a new generation at heavyweight? Not really. I mean, we're seeing a lot of the same names anyway. Ngannou is of that new generation. The problem is style-wise, he's exactly what Cain loves to feast on. A big, kind of plodding, hard-hitting heavyweight. Cain eats those guys alive because his pressure and his pace and his versatility. And Junior Dos Santos, that was one of the worst beatings back-to-back I've ever seen in mixed martial arts, period, at any weight class. Because Cain's pace and his pressure, and you'll never land that big shot. You never will. He'll never stand still long enough for you to land it. So the long layoff obviously sucks. The multiple injuries suck. One time, Brendan Schaub and I were backstage at Madison Square Garden talking about the greatest heavyweight of all time. And I think all time it's still Fedor. And in terms of legacy. And he said, I think it's Cain. And I said, Cain doesn't have the run. He doesn't have the 5 or 6 years where he wasn't hurt, where we saw that name after name after name after name. He always, the injuries always derailed him. So you could argue that in his prime, he might be the best heavyweight ever. It's just he doesn't have that 5 or 6 fight run, and he's got to make it now, and the clock is ticking. So, but style-wise, I think Ngannou is exactly the kind of guy Cain would feast on if he's anywhere near his prime level.
Speaking of heavyweight and speaking of Fedor, he fights Ryan Bader in the heavyweight Grand Prix final for Bellator 214, 26th of January. What's your thoughts on this one? Ryan Bader competing against Fedor at heavyweight.
Well, Ryan Bader's looked so good in Bellator at heavyweight. I mean, that's the thing. Matt Mitrione owned him for 3 rounds. I mean, I think one judge had it 10-8 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he owned him completely. So momentum certainly on his side. But Fedor, take anything you want away from the guy. The guy can still hit. Yeah. I mean, he lifted Chael Sonnen off his feet with that shot. So it's a matter of can Ryan Bader get his ground game going, the takedown, the ground and pound, everything he does very well without eating that big shot. That's huge. Right now, I would say Ryan Bader would be my favorite. He was one of my top to win the tournament in the beginning. So and momentum, he's looked fantastic. He would be my favorite right now, but man, Fedor can still put it on him. But Ryan Bader has looked tremendous in Bellator at heavyweight.
Do you think he should stay at heavyweight, Ryan Bader? He's obviously quite small. Like, he's not the smallest guy at heavyweight, I'm sure. But like, do you think maybe he could stick around the heavyweight and do well there?
Number one, what's so hard when guys do that is, why wouldn't you? I don't have to cut weight, and I keep winning. So unless there's a big impediment to him, unless they sign a bunch of heavyweights that are somehow just a lot more dangerous than the ones he's been facing, why wouldn't he stay at heavyweight? Why am I going to cut down to 205 if I don't have to? Also, there aren't a ton of marquee names in Bellator at 205. It's been kind of a thin division for them. So there's not a lot of financial incentive in that there aren't a bunch of huge fights for him at 205 for him to go down to. I don't know why he wouldn't stay at heavyweight and make a run there and not have to make the cut and be champ.